Thanks for staying with us. It's still the Idea Morning Digest. Once again, we're looking at yet another big story and the biggest story in Nigeria at the moment. It is a new set of tax reform just signed by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on June 26 this year. These reforms mark the most significant overhaul of all tax systems in decades. They touch on how much individuals pay in personal income tax, how much businesses are taxed, and even restructure every agency that collects tax. The government says the goal is to make taxation fairer, reduce the burden on the poorest, and simplify a system that many have long considered as too complex. But as with many reforms, there are many questions as regards how does this affect my salary? How does it affect my business, especially small businesses? And for big companies, they're even more confused. And now they're going to be forced to contribute more. And how much more would they be contributing if they are contributing more? So beyond the economics, there's also a legal perspective of things. And that's what we'll be looking at today, the enforcement, the compliance, and also taxpayers' rights. To help us unpack this, we'll be joined shortly by Abdulaziz Abiodun, who is a barrister of the law and also a solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and also a law expert who will shed light on these reforms, what they really mean for everyday Nigerians. While we still await our guests to join us on this morning show, I mean, since June 2020, since June 26, there has been a lot of conversations back and forth as regards to tax law. What exactly does this mean for every one of us? How does it affect us? I don't have money. I don't earn so much now. How am I expected to pay tax? How much tax am I meant to pay? And I guess that's one of those things I still don't understand. And also, as a taxpayer, what exactly are my rights? Do I have right to act for some things? Do I have right to demand or not demand for some things? It's a whole lot back and forth as regards how would the enforcement be like? What is it going to be like? It's a whole lot. What do you think about tax at the moment?
I really think, Paul, I really think this is one of the most significant overhaul when it comes to our tax, when it comes to tax reforms in Nigeria. I think in decades in Nigeria, and people are only right to be worried. People are only right to get scared and get concerned and raise eyebrows because, of course, like you mentioned, it's going to affect business. It's going to affect every aspect of our livelihood.
Yes.
And I think one of the biggest debates about Nigerian tax reforms is the tax going to be regressive? Is the tax going to be progressive? And also, I always like to talk about civic education. Very, very important. Because there's this thin line between tax and civic education. So why I'm bringing this is because, yes, we get to complain. We most times complain about tax, and that's because a lot of people do not understand that paying taxes is very, very, very important. Very, very important to your life, to the society, to the world at large, contributing to your, the world's GDP and also the national GDP. So I think paying tax is very important, but then, like I said before, the biggest debate here is tax reforms. The government says it is trying to make the system more progressive, like they've said, by protecting low-income earners, and focusing on big companies.
The big fish?
Yes, those big companies, those big corporations too, and those high net worth individuals in the country. But I don't know, should I put it that critics are arguing that if compliance cost rises, then, or if I should put it, indirect taxes, we know what it means. Those levies on fuel, those levies on telecoms, on digital transactions are increased. It still ends up feeling regressive for ordinary Nigerians. So that's why I say the biggest debate about these tax reforms is it progressive or is it regressive? I think that's where Nigerians are questioning. That's what Nigerians are questioning the most. So we need to understand all of these things, and I'm happy that we have a lawyer here to, break some of these things down to us. But the way I look at it, let me speak as a Nigerian now, not as your host. Let me speak as a Nigerian, because we are seeing all these things come to play. Some of these things that feels regressive to us. We know how much. I mean, get something and you see the VAT there. That's the value added tax.
Yes.
It's a whole lot. And when we look at it, are they really taxing these big corporations? Are these big corporations really paying? Because I know that most foreigners like to come and invest in Nigeria because they do not pay
so much taxes.
so many tax. That's one thing compared to some of their countries. But in Nigeria here, who suffers the most? Low income earners. I mean, I go to get something, I want to buy fuel. The cost of fuel is high, is on the high side. Aside that, if I use my ATM card to pay, value is added to it. If I want to use cash to pay, sometimes you want to even withdraw and then they'll tell you, even in filling stations, they'll tell you, madam, you go add 10 naira, you go add 100 naira and all of those things for withdrawal. So
it's a very interesting thing to look at, because I don't understand. I remember going to a restaurant, and then when they brought the bill, after going through everything that I purchased, they added their value added tax. And then I now ask that, why are you adding this again? Especially they say it's a new law, it's on blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, interesting. And I don't want to say it's hard to see, but it puts so much burden on people, because there's some times when even after you must have budgeted, because if you're in the real sense, just like you said, the low income earners who actually earn less than some actually still earn less than the minimum wage, still have to pay so much tax on things. And all of these taxes that have been enacted as of June 2026, I don't know why I keep saying 2026, it's meant to kick off in 2026. It's there are 4 in number. There's the Nigerian Tax Act, which is NTA. Yes. There's the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. There's the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Act, and also the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act. And all of these joined together are the reforms that were done by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And it's one of the, I know that one of the main things is the fact that, for one, those who earn, household who earn, I guess, less than 250,000 will not be exempted from tax. Household, I'm not meaning that a person. I'm saying an household, probably with the explanation of the chairman of the Presidential Committee of Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform. What he explained was what they imagine is a family of 5, a father, a mother, and 3 children. Okay. Meaning that if a father and a mother, their combined earnings is not up to 250,000 naira. I'm not sure if it's a year now or monthly, but I do understand there's also the quota for yearly as well. If they don't meet up to that, then they will be exempted totally from the tax, meaning that they won't have to pay tax, and even if they have to pay tax, it will be little or nothing, basically. So, and it is interesting to see. And also, I do understand that, because someone was also breaking it down as regards who was going to pay what. And usually when states collect taxes, they usually would have to remit a chunk load of it to the government. So now what the federal government has done now is that they've broken a lot of these things down. So after the states collect their taxes, I think the states now collect 55%, I guess, and then they remit 10% to the federal government or so. I really can't remember the percent, but it's around that range. And then they remit, I think, 35% as well to local government areas. So basically, every arm of government gets a percent of the tax at the end of the day. It's not that a chunk load of it goes to a certain person, but rather every percent is based on percentage now, and everyone gets a fair share of the tax. So, one of the things I will be expecting to see in the coming days is actually how it's going to be implemented, and also how well we're going to see changes and also good use of all of this tax.
Okay, I really want to see how that is going to be implemented, just like you've said. But I've seen that or heard or read that most of the I mean, I think their biggest target is mostly low income earners, income earners. That's when it comes to personal income tax. Low income earners are going to pay less. I mean, that's the promise we've seen on the papers, on the news. And this means that someone earning like near the minimum wage may see more money. That's what this means. And left, I mean, they may see more money left in their pocket at the end of the month. And then that's important because our country is suffering from inflation. I mean, our inflation rate is above 20% now, and food prices have skyrocketed, we know. But then, still from my unpopular opinion, is that if you are a middle class, if you are in the middle class, rather, if you are a middle class earner, you may not feel much relief. I'm begging to differ. You may not feel more relief because the government is targeting the top earners. Yes, but history shows us that top earners in Nigeria they are a very small group.
Yes.
They are a very small group. And the middle class often ends up carrying that heavier load because it's like this is the low income earners. It's like this is the middle class and this is the top earners. So the middle class are in the middle and it's like they are bearing the whole, carrying the whole load, or they are bearing the brunt of this whole decision. So they are in the middle and they are being suppressed somehow with this. Because I can remember, think about 2011 when our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, removed fuel subsidy. The intention was to free up government funds for infrastructure. But the brunt of the pain was felt by everyday Nigerians, especially those middle class earners who had to deal with transport hikes, who had to deal with, high food prices. So I feel like the same risks still exist here if we look at it playing out. Although this has not been rolled out, like you said, it's going to be rolled out in 2026 officially. But then I feel there is a risk here, and like same risks that we had to deal with during President Goodluck's time with the fuel subsidy thing in 2011. So even if your tax rate doesn't change, the knock-on effect on prices and services, I feel like it might mean you still have to, pinch your pockets, because we are just talking. What was in the other news? We are talking about how the agri-business, local production and whatnot.
Exactly. How they're forced to cut
prices. But we are talking about cutting prices. We do not talk about the cost of local production. So let's apply the same case here. Let's apply that case here. If you look at low-income earners and you are targeting high-income earners on collecting more from them, and then Nigeria, we have three classes, whether we like it or not. We have, and currently first of all, the high-income earners are not, they're a small group of people like I mentioned before. Low-income earners are quite a number of people, and then the low-income earners are the largest. I mean, the middle earners are quite a number of people. So when we look at these things, I just feel like people will still have to pinch their pockets, because tax rates, we are talking about value-added tax now. We are talking about corporate, we are talking about personal income tax. And personal income tax is what pinches us the most. That's what comes out of our pocket when we go to buy fuel, when we go to buy groceries, and when we go to the market, and a whole lot of things. Now, talking about businesses, especially for the small business holders, the reform could be a mixed bag when we look at it, because I see that the government says it wants to simplify compliance. They want to waiver tax, what do they call them? Tariffs and whatnot, import and export duties, and meaning multiple taxes. That's what this means. Fewer confusing levies, all of those middlemen players there, some other bureaucratic practices, and more. It's going to be a more streamlined process. But that's good news, because, Nigeria has long suffered with tax harassment. Like I said, so many bureaucratic practices in this field for small businesses, and it has halted or dwindled small businesses. It has even pushed people back from chasing businesses and all of those things. But here's where it gets complicated if we want to look at it here. This is what I want to hold. If enforcement improves, I really feel like more businesses will actually have to start paying what they owe. You get?
Yeah.
So it's like double tax on
On
them.
exactly, like,
So,
you see, this thing is because after at the point when it was broken down as well, there was also talks as regards even remote workers are not left out, meaning that whether you earn in
and in
naira, you
naira or
earn
in
in
dollar,
dollars, you're
it's
going
still
to
not.
pay your equivalent
Okay.
in naira and all of that. I guess for now, John Abiodun. Good morning,
Okay.
Abiodun. How are you doing today? Good morning, Abiodun. Can you hear me? Good morning, Abiodun. Good morning. I can't hear you, Abiodun. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, good
I,
morning.
I guess you'll have to join back, most likely. Okay, can you hear me now? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you.
so quickly, I would love if you could just break all of these things down. I mean, we've been discussing so much on tax reforms and all of that. Could you just give us a simple breakdown of what we are to expect as regards the tax reforms that are coming up in the next couple of months here in Nigeria, talking about as it counts down to 2026?
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Abdulkadir Abdulaziz Abiodun. I'm sorry. Uh, what we have is that by January 2026, there is going to be a new change on our tax uh, area. So the first thing is we should consider that this tax reform act, is a well drafted and then get ready to go. So there are four there are four major acts. We have the Nigeria Tax Act, we have the Revenue Revenue Establishment Act, and then sorry, we also have the Joint Revenue Board Act, and the last one is Nigeria Tax Administration Act. All these four tax acts are going to take place. Are going to be enforced come 2026 January.
Okay, so what are those new changes as regards the new tax law, and what are those things that Nigerians should actually pay attention to? Those things that we might not see. You know, we as you learned colleagues would call yourself. What are those things that you guys have spotted out that we Nigerians are yet to spot out? What are those things that we should probably look out for in next coming of days? Because, but I mean, January is just a few days away from today.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first thing we should look out for is the fact that every person, individual, it is necessary for you to get your tax ID. Tax ID in the sense that if you don't have tax ID, you might not be able to operate your account. You need to link your tax identification number with your financial institution, irrespective of bank you are operating. That's one. And then number two is the fact that there is going to be changes in for small business owners. You know, if your threshold is 25%, 25 million naira, it has been increased to 100 million naira, which means if your threshold is 100 million naira, you don't have to pay tax anymore. And also, there's going to be another avenue in which any taxpayer who is grievance or we have a complaint or something like that, you can just go to tax ombudsman office to lodge your complaint. That's another innovation. And then another one is the fact that by by the time this act is implemented, well, every business, every organization, the economic at large is going to change entirely to a better place.
Okay, Abdulaziz. I think part of the reform is not just new rates, but there are new ways have been introduced as well for collecting these taxes, like using technology. And on
Exactly.
Idea TV here, we advocate for technology strongly and innovation. So we like what is going on here. One of the new ways is also e-invoicing and, all other stronger enforcement. So my question is, how will this digital first approach affect average taxpayers? Like, how will it make life easier or easy by especially reducing harassment for people, or will it make compliance harder for small businesses that aren't tech savvy? What's the plan with inclusion?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. The introduction of the technology in the tax area is the fact that before the normal practice is that you have to go to their office, do your proper documentation and all that. But now, currently, you don't have to go to their office again. You can just do everything online by picking up your phone, fill out the necessary forms and all that. Obtaining if in invoice and all, you don't have to go to their office again. It's stress free. Nothing like going to their office, queuing and wasting time anymore.
Okay, I mean that's one of the good news of technology, and that's one of the things that it brings. But from a legal standpoint, why do you feel like these reforms are actually necessary, and are they actually necessary at this point in time where we are here in Nigeria?
Okay, uh, from legal points, it is necessary because all other countries they adopted this major system or major way to boost their economy, and then we are trying to boost our economy as well. Because if you can see from 2 years way behind, we could see that our economy has been very bad. But by the time we implement this act, this law, it will be very good. It will boost our economy, and then our economy will be prosper, and then it will invite some other investors from other countries to come and invest in our country.
Okay, still speaking of our economy, people want to know how this hits them personally because we with their take home pay go up or come down. That's what I want to know. And how will it affect daily spending in the market? Like for average Nigerians like me and you, average Nigerian workers, particularly low income earners and middle income earners. What do this reform means for salary deduction and day-to-day expenses? Remember the what do they call it? The
VAT
minimum wage is yet to be implemented
in
in
some
many
places. Yeah.
states. So how do these reforms mean for salary deduction and day-to-day expenses, especially for low income and middle income earners?
So let's start from salary deduction aspects. So if you are salary earner earning about 800,000 in a year, that is the accumulation per year yearly is
Annually.
800,000. You don't have to pay tax on that 800,000 naira, and that is a big uh, advantage to them because paying tax on that kind of money is like punishing them. So you don't have to pay tax on that kind of money. And then the fact that it has already or is going to help our economy in the sense or in the area, we have VAT, value added tax, and then the percentage of value added tax on all the commodities, other things we use is 7.5. But now on all some on food commodity, food items, there's not going to be any tax anymore. And medical instruments, medical facilities, medical other aspects of medicine and all that, and then pharmaceutical equipment and all that, then there's not going to be tax. It's going to be tax free. So that is one advantage as well. And then another one is the fact that uh, business owners whose turnover is about 25 million naira, you are not going to pay. Sorry, 100 million naira. That's 25 million naira. That was before, but now it's 100 million naira. You're not going to pay tax. So it's going to help the economy to grow. Those who are running small businesses are now going to put the taxes that they are going to be pay before or they are paying before into the business so that the economy will boost, and then it will help them to develop their
Exactly.
business.
Okay. So just like more like in rounding up now, because I noticed now the rounding that time is fast spent.
Okay.
What steps do we ordinary Nigerians and also business owners have to take to stay compliant so that we are not on the wrong side of the law? What are those things that we should do? What are those things that we shouldn't do so that we don't see ourselves having to need a lawyer to actually slug things out in a court of law?
So I think the best thing to do is to be aware of what is going on in our environment. Be aware in the sense that meet people that know more about this new tax act. Tell them to educate you. tell them that you don't know this, you don't know that, let them educate you. And then some other accountant officers, some, am I going to say, tax experts, so that they can educate you in order not to fall into the debt or something. So you need to be educated. You need to know what is going on in order not to accrue what is not yours. And the fact that the government also needs to create proper awareness, because the act is going to take effect from January 2020. But what is majority don't know what is going on. Majority don't know the content of this act. So there's going to be, there's need to be awareness for people to know what is going on. And then the fact that we need if you are running a business or you have a company, you need tax experts to put you through in order not to fall into debt, or to be familiar with some things so that it will help you to run your business smoothly.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdulaziz. It's been a very lovely conversation talking and breaking the things down, and also seeing things from a legal lens. Thank you very much, and hopefully one day we have you in the studio to join us as well and discuss probably more topics like this, or still on the same topic. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So I guess it's a really lovely
Yes.
conversation to see things from his own perspective as
Yes.
well, and so also he broke things down as regards the fact that anyone who is earning less than 800,000 doesn't have to pay tax, meaning that Cynthia, you're not on that list. So get ready to get ready to pay tax.
I'm concerned about the masses.
So you're not the masses. Okay,
concerned
thank you for
masses,
concern
Paul.
about we the masses. I really take that as an honor. Thank you very much, Ma, for considering us.
Yes, you're welcome, Paul.
Yes, I guess I guess that's all we'll be able to take this morning on Idea Money Digest. Do not forget to go register for tax and ensure that you are not held on the wrong side of the law come 2026. My name is Paul. Thanks for watching.